It's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas with iHeart the Holidays. Non-stop Christmas music 24/7. All your festive favorites. Unwrap the magic of the season, one song at a time. Ask your smart speaker to play iHeart the Holidays on iHeartRadio. Download the free app today.
This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello everyone, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on Nintendo with their upcoming Switch 2 console, an ongoing battle with Palworld, and their latest lawsuit against video game piracy. Plus the latest on the Hogwarts Legacy sequel, and Mass Effect is getting the TV treatment. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's get started. A little more news regarding the successor to the Nintendo Switch has emerged, and this time not from leaks, but from an official statement given by Nintendo's current president, Shuntaro Furukawa. On Nintendo's official Twitter page, it reads, "At today's corporate management policy briefing, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor to Nintendo Switch as well. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date." Now, this is fantastic news for current owners of the Nintendo Switch, and the news reveals a lot about the specs we can expect from Nintendo's next console. For the predecessor to be compatible with previous Switch titles, it must have most, if not all, of the same features as a Switch, like HD rumble, gyro, a touchscreen, and most importantly, Joy-Con compatibility. Could this backwards compatibility also mean that the Switch's predecessor will be capable of displaying Switch titles in a higher resolution the way that the Xbox Series X can natively upscale games from previous generations? For now, it is impossible to say, but that's half the fun. The legal battle between Nintendo and Palworld rages on. Palworld's developer Pocket Pair confirmed via a post on Twitter that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have filed for damages caused by Palworld for infringing on 3 of their patents. This comes as a surprise to many because it seems certain that Nintendo was going to file for copyright infringement suit due to dozens of the Palworld designs closely resembling different Pokemon. So what patents is Palworld accused of violating? One of the patents covers in-game activities where the player character focuses on throwing a ball at characters in a field. The second is related to the action of aiming, and the third covers the riding of characters. Palworld does feature mechanics similar to those listed in the patents. Should Pocket Pair lose this lawsuit, they will be on the hook for 10 million yen, late fees, and an injunction will be put out against Palworld, potentially shutting down the game for good. 10 million yen sounds like a hefty sum at first, but after a little calculation, it equates to about $60,000 US, or roughly $84,000 Canadian. That's a lot of money for folks like you and me, but to companies like Nintendo, it might as well be pocket change. Regardless of the cost, Pocket Pair isn't backing down, and they've sworn to take the video game giants to court, saying, "We will continue to assert our position in this case through future legal proceedings." If there's one thing you need to know about Nintendo, it's that they aren't afraid to take legal action against anyone, including their own fans. That's what happened to Jesse Kian of Colorado, who pirated Nintendo titles and streamed himself playing games before their release date. According to the lawsuit, Kian has been doing this since 2022, leaking over 50 Nintendo titles like The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Mario Party Jamboree, and most recently, Mario and Luigi Brothership. Nintendo had apparently set multiple takedown notices to prevent Kian from leaking their games. Instead of cooperating, Kian had allegedly sent Nintendo a letter in late October bragging that he had 1,000 burner channels to stream from and that he could do this all day. This was likely the last straw for Nintendo, who sent in their legal team, which are not known for their compassion. And when they hit Kian with a lawsuit so big, it makes the Palworld lawsuit look like child's play. The lawsuit that Nintendo issued Kian is for $150,000 for each violation of Nintendo's rights under copyright. With over 50 copyright violations over the course of 2 years, Kian could be looking at owing Nintendo a whopping $7.5 million in damages. Mamma mia. After the success of the Harry Potter video game Hogwarts Legacy back in 2023, fans of the franchise have been awaiting the game's sequel. The president of Warner Bros. Interactive, David Haddad, has confirmed that Warner Bros. Games is developing a follow-up to Hogwarts Legacy. He also confirmed that the sequel will share major story elements with the Harry Potter television series that is expected to premiere sometime in 2026. So does this mean that we can expect Hogwarts Legacy 2 in 2026, or will we have to hold out until 2027? Much about the game still remains unknown, but we can rest assured that creating a game worthy of the Hogwarts Legacy namesake remains one of Warner Bros.' greatest priorities. Dragon Age: The Veilguard has been out for a little more than a few weeks, and fans of the game are already wondering if BioWare has plans to release DLC for Dragon Age. Well, the game's creative director, John Epler, has said in an interview with Rolling Stone that there are currently no plans for DLC, and our full attention has now shifted to the next Mass Effect. Mass Effect Andromeda, BioWare's latest RPG video game, never saw any DLC either, but in 2021, BioWare released the Mass Effect Legendary Collection, which encapsulated remastered versions of the original Mass Effect trilogy. With Dragon Age: The Veilguard marking the fourth game in the series, can we expect a sort of legendary collection for Dragon Age? Well, John Epler doesn't seem to think so. In the same interview, he said, "I think I'm only one of about maybe 20 people left at BioWare who's actually used Eclipse, which is an engine used to develop Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. It's something that's not going to be as easy as Mass Effect, which was developed using the more popular Unreal Engine. But we do love the original games. So it's not exactly a no, at least for now. In the meantime, I'm excited to see BioWare back in the news cycle and making moves, and I can't wait to see what they're working on for Mass Effect. Speaking of which, Mass Effect fans, we're finally getting our wish. That's right, it was finally confirmed that a Mass Effect TV series is officially in development at Amazon MGM Studios, with 10 Cloverfield Lane writer Daniel Casey at the helm. Joining Casey are BioWare's Michael Gamble, who's busy with the next Mass Effect game, and producers Avi Arad and Karim Zrik. Whether it'll stick closely to the game's plot or take a different direction, we'll have to wait and see, but I'll be chatting with my guest later on about just what our hopes are for the show, so stay tuned. On the topic of game adaptations made by Amazon, Macaulay Culkin is joining the Fallout cast in Season 2. It was revealed just this past week. And as for his role, all we know is he'll be playing a crazy genius type of character. Sounds about right for Fallout. Fallout has become a massive hit, even nabbing 17 Emmy nominations and a win for music supervision. With Mass Effect now joining Fallout, the Amazon video game adaptation roster is growing, and we love to see it. Now let's go over the video games releasing this week.
Games out this week.
On November 12th, Rise of the Golden Idol launches on PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Farming Simulator 25 plows onto PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Tetris Forever shifts onto all platforms. Then November 14th, Miniatures merges onto iOS, PC, and Nintendo Switch. LEGO Horizon Adventures takes aim at PS5, PC, and Switch. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake adventures onto PS5, PC, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. And on November 15th, Path of Exile 2 crashes onto the PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Later this week, the Epic Games Store is offering 8 free classic Castlevania titles included in the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, which will be available for download from November 14th until the 21st.
Quest complete.
So that's it for the news this week. It's now time to chat with our guest, Lucy James, who joins us to chat about Nintendo's latest battle against video game piracy and our hopes for the Mass Effect TV series.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Lucy, welcome to This Week in Gaming. It's so good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Naomi. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and we got to hang out a little bit, and so it's really nice to be doing this. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. And also same, very big fan of the work that you do. Okay, let's go into this story here from Nintendo. The fact that they did this is a little shocking. It was a crazy story that came out online. But yeah, apparently somebody, a gamer, was gloating that they were able to pirate and stream some of Nintendo's games ahead of their launch. And of course, Nintendo, being who they are, they went up and sued the gamer. When you heard this story, what were your initial thoughts?
My first thought was, I am not surprised. So Nintendo as a company is very, very protective of its IP, its games. Like there's a reason. I mean, this company's been around for something like 150 years. Obviously, not doing video games the whole time. I believe they started as a playing card company. But Nintendo as a whole, especially, they really are protective of what they own. They understand that they make video games for people to enjoy. They want to embody that fun. And if you license things away too much or don't have a good reign on your properties, then it can get diluted. And that is absolutely what Nintendo doesn't want to happen. So they have a reputation for being pretty litigious, a little trigger happy maybe on suing people. Things like they pulled down fan tournaments for things like Smash Brothers because they weren't officially sanctioned, and it's kind of well known in the industry. You kind of don't mess with Nintendo, and so for a streamer to and this is the other part of it, is to pirate their games, then stream them not across just Twitch but across places like Kick, YouTube, like everywhere you can stream. This person was streaming their games pre-release, and then to poke the bear and say, haha, you can't do anything. I've got thousands of these accounts. You'll never catch me. Of course, Nintendo were going to react. And so this story did not surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, and it's safe to say that this gamer is in big trouble, at least monetarily from what we've heard. But this does send a very clear message. We know that Nintendo is very protective of their properties. Do you think that just in general, suing is the best solution to piracy? Are there other ways? How do we combat this? How do devs combat this as a problem that we tend to see a lot of in this industry?
So the question of piracy is a very big one. I think when you think about this story, it is obviously the legality of it, because it is something that is ostensibly stolen, because it is pre-release copy. This was not available to the general public. This person managed to access the game and they put it online. Like, there's piracy obviously there, and like this element of theft. But when it comes to piracy in general, it's a more nuanced argument, because not just Nintendo, but there are a lot of games that are currently no longer available. We are having this shift where gaming is that people are trying to become all digital. And that means that the old analog ways of things are being left behind. Like, you go into Target these days and there are so few games physically on the shelf.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to Target before, or I bought a collector's edition and I don't get a disc, I get a code. Compare that to 10 years ago, and it was just like you would go to the brick and mortar store and buy a physical copy, and like everyone would be proud of, hey, look at this, is my binder full of my Xbox 360 games. And that's no longer the case anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I know mine are like sadly in a drawer in my mum's house. So there is this argument that piracy can keep these old games that are no longer available. Like, if you can't buy the disc anymore, if the disc is out of print, if it's not available on a digital storefront, then there is the argument that piracy is keeping those games alive. And then you have places like the Internet Archive, which is obviously trying to do its best to preserve internet history. And things like books are preserved there and archived there. Why do we not have the same thing for video games? And actually, not too long ago, there was a, this went up to, I believe, like the Supreme Court, and it was rejected on copyright grounds. And so it's this strange thing where it's like, there's so many different elements to nuances and layers to this question about piracy in video games. However, in terms of sending a message to gamers, I think Nintendo kind of have to show that they are the big boys here, and that they will come down hard on you and they will punish this, because they're really, like, this person cannot say that they are acting in ignorance. They are saying outright what they have done, and they know it's illegal.
That's right.
Nintendo is like, I think when you think about how other companies are fostering their communities, I think Nintendo knows that they shouldn't get too, they're not getting too involved compared to how some other companies, like Nintendo used to have a bigger sort of social presence, and like they were a little bit more familial, I guess, and like friendly with people. But now it's very much, there's a wall, right? Like, I don't remember any fun Nintendo posts in the last few years.
Right. Yeah, it's they've definitely shifted in terms of how they are portraying themselves in the public. Let's switch gears to something more exciting. Mass Effect TV series is happening, and as a Mass Effect fan, OG played all of them, repeat played them. There's just a huge fan base when it comes to Mass Effect. We're finally getting a TV show. What are some of your hopes? I know I have mine, but I would love to know, what is your dream scenario when it comes to Mass Effect TV series?
So yeah, I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. I know this is audio only, but I've got a bunch of stuff on the shelf behind me. It's one of my favorite game series of all time. So this has been rumored for a little bit. I think well over a year, there was sort of a rumor that they were doing this. And even back then, I was thinking that I would love to see the First Contact War.
Yeah.
So Mass Effect, if you're unfamiliar, is basically a story about Commander Shepard, who is this kind of elite Marine who leads a team because there is a species of sentient robots that are coming, and they every 50,000 years or so, there's a cycle where they purge all organic life from the galaxy, and basically it's because they believe that humanity, organics, can't rule themselves. And so it fits into all the fun sci-fi that I love, which is questions about what is a sentient being.
Yeah.
And so there's so many cool things you could do with it. But my favorite thing that's touched on in one of the comic books is the First Contact War, which is when humanity, because we are in the Mass Effect universe, in the grand scheme of things, babies. And all of the other races and species have been around for a long time, right? So Asari live for thousands of years. Humanity doesn't even really register for them. They see them as lesser beings.
Right.
And so there's a point where humanity discovers some really old technology and uses it to propel themselves to the stars, and they launch and they come up against these people called the Turians, this alien species called the Turians, and they have this conflict, and it's the First Contact War. And I would love to see that, because I think the difficulty is going to be, Mass Effect is a choice-driven game, and so a lot of the enjoyment comes from the fact that you are Commander Shepard and you're making those decisions. Am I curing the genophage, or am I saving this person? And so for a TV series, I would love to see something that doesn't really hinge on that. That's just telling a really damn good story.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to see?
I've read the books, the Mass Effect books too, and there's a lot of great stuff that, as a TV show could be cheap to make. There's, I don't remember again all the details, but stuff that's very concentrated to one area, takes place on planet Earth. I think that would be cool, but I'm in the same boat as you. I do, in my heart, would love to see a Commander Shepard story that sees all the usual characters, Garrus and all of them, join the team and have them, spacefaring. I look at TV shows that have already done sci-fi really well, like The Expanse. I'm trying to think what else. There's just so much that they could pull from that has already been done in the sci-fi realm. Just make a really good Mass Effect TV show. But yeah, I think what you just proposed, excellent choice. Let's take it back to before and build upon that story, because that just can lead to so many more seasons after that. And the story is massive. It's not only Mass Effect, but it's massive. So yeah, I think that something like that would be great. What kind of casting ideas do you have? Do you have any in mind? Did you think about that?
I don't know. I do want to say shout out to Rahul Kohli. He said that is it Kate Siegel?
Yeah.
From all of she works with obviously Mike Flanagan a lot. She would be an amazing Commander Shepard, and
Totally.
Ever since he said that, I can't unsee that.
I know, you're just yes, this makes sense.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
That is my Commander Shepard. But in terms of if you were going back, I would love to see sort of kind of relative unknowns. Because I think about, you mentioned The Expanse there. It was I think that's such a well done show. And I think it really benefited from, in season 1, I think the only actor I really knew was Thomas Jane.
Yeah.
And then everyone else I just grew to love. And I love it when that happens. I'm trying to think you would need someone with a really gruff voice to be a Krogan, for example. So maybe someone what's his name? He's Hellboy.
I can't tell you the name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Ron Perlman.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I also think he'd be great. But I also think getting Mark Meir and Jennifer Hale, who voiced the male and female Commander Shepard, to do cameos and stuff would be really great. You could obviously get Trisha Helfer back. She plays this AI named Edie, and like if Edie was in it, then Trisha Helfer from Battlestar Galactica would be a great shoe-in to definitely get in. So that's the thing, I'm just like, the cast of the games was so good that's what I'm pulling back to.
I know, which is what they did with The Last of Us. They were like, hey, these voice actors did so well by these characters that let's just bring them back. Let's make them play a different character, but have them be a part of the world, which I love. Well, thank you so much, Lucy. It's so great to have you on the show. I hope you'll come back for another episode at some point in the future and keep crushing it out there in the video game world.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I would absolutely love to come back. This was so much fun.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Lucy James is a host and senior video producer at GameSpot. You can follow her on Twitter at LucyJamesGames.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had such a blast bringing you the news this week. Thank you so much for listening, and shout out to my co-writer, Josh Seaman. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week, and we'll see you again same time, same place. Thanks for listening.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.
It's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas with iHeart the Holidays. Non-stop Christmas music 24/7. All your festive favorites. Unwrap the magic of the season, one song at a time. Ask your smart speaker to play iHeart the Holidays on iHeartRadio. Download the free app today.